There are some alarming trends when it comes to homeownership in African American communities. So this will be the first video in a series of videos where we talk about those trends and how to fix them. Welcome to the Homeowner Prep podcast, where every week we educate and encourage aspiring homeowners to help them buy their first home faster. If you aspire to own a home, you're in the right place, so enjoy. Do us a favor and leave a review, a rating, and be sure to subscribe. Now let's get to this week's episode. Hey, real quick before we start, I want to ask you a question. How long are you going to wait before you decide to get started? I mean, you want to buy a house and you're earning income, so what's holding you back? Visit our website at homeownerprep.com/start. You can take an online assessment and set up a free 30-minute call, and we're going to put a plan together to help you get from where you are to where you truly want to be. So don't let fear hold you back from buying your first home. All right, now back to the episode. Hello and welcome to the Homeowner Prep podcast. I'm your host, Eric Helon, and on today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about some trends in the African American community that are having a major impact to homeownership and wealth in general. So this will be a series of videos as we discuss these trends and most importantly, how to correct them so we're moving in the right direction. But on today's episode, I just want to cover a few of the major trends that we're seeing that are actually moving African Americans in the wrong direction. And we'll actually see that if we continue to move in this direction, African American household wealth will reach zero by 2053. So we have to start doing something about it. The first trend that I want to highlight is that over the last 15 years, the Urban Institute has found that African American home ownership has reached levels much lower than they were in the 1960s. In fact, since before the passing of the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Now, the reason why this is an alarming trend is because before 1968, before fair housing was passed, discrimination was actually legal. So when discrimination was legal, African Americans actually owned more homes then than they do now. And so you can see how we're moving in the wrong direction and how African American households are becoming households of renters. We're starting to see generational renting instead of generational home ownership, even though the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1968. So you can see how we need to fix that trend over the next 15 years. There's no reason why we should have home ownership levels lower now than when discrimination was actually legal. If the rate of home ownership today in 2023 was the same as it was in the year 2000, there would actually be 770,000 more African American homeowners. Now that's a big number. It's almost 1 million households that are creating generational wealth that have vanished due to the trends in the direction that we're going. So just looking at the rate of home ownership now compared to the year 2000 shows that no longer do we have these homeowners, but those 770,000 households are now renting. And that's actually hurting us generationally. We're no longer homeowners. We're now 770,000 renters, not building any wealth and not creating any real assets to pass down to the next generation. That loss in sheer volume, especially in areas like California and Florida, generates millions of dollars. And in fact, it could be billions over the next generation that have been lost in the last 23 years. We can no longer just think about our current generation and my current situation. I have to be thinking about the generations behind me and how my decisions now to choose to be a renter instead of a homeowner are actually impacting future generations to come. The third trend I want to talk about actually deals with home equity. So a recent study by the Urban Institute found that African Americans are 5 times more likely to own homes when they are homeowners in formerly redlined communities. And in fact, those home values are actually 50% less than if they were living in greenlining communities. Now, if you're not familiar with redlining, this was actually a practice by banks to circle in communities that they would not lend to, or if they did lend to them, they were using predatory rates and charging higher prices, inflated prices to these incoming homeowners. This didn't really stop Black home ownership, as we talked about the stats before the Fair Housing Act, But unfortunately, the redlining that was happening back in the 60s and 70s still continues on to this day. There are a number of banks that were found to still be using redlining tactics and have actually been impacting the home equity and value of these homes over the last 20 years. So when you own a home in a formerly redlined community, a community that was targeted and preyed upon, your home equity is actually 50% less. That not only impacts you now, where, if you wanted to do a refinance and put more money into your home and do an upgrade to your home, or use some of the money that you've built over time in equity to go out and purchase an investment property or another property, sure, that impacts you now. But the simple fact of generationally your home being 50% less over the years is going to impact your children and your grandchildren as you leave these assets over time. So if you're living in that formerly redlined community, you cannot leverage that property to get the full value in order to retire comfortably, just to travel or just to enjoy life. So these are some of the trends that are impacting African American communities. And of course, as Homeowner Prep, we serve all communities, but these are alarming to us. And especially as we're in this time of Black History Month, we need to address these issues. And most importantly, we need to figure out ways how to overcome and change the direction of these trends so that we're set up for the future. So we're going to get into that in the next episode. But if you have some questions or you want to get started with Homeowner Prep, no matter where you're at, whether you're in a red line community, green line community, doesn't matter. We can help you. So you can visit us on our website at homeownerprep.com/start. And there you can get started with us, whether if you're ready to go, if you're not quite ready, or if you want to take an assessment to see if you're ready, you can do that there. If you have any direct questions or a particular situation that you just have a question about, you can reach out to us on social media. There you'll get faster answers, and we get the majority of our questions on Instagram at Homeowner Prep. I hope you got some understanding of the trends that we're seeing in the African American community today. But most importantly, I hope that you come back and listen to the next episode where we talk about how to right these wrongs and how to reverse these trends so that your next generations are set up for success. I look forward to providing you with some great content on that episode. And until then, be blessed. If you've enjoyed this show and got some great value from it, please be sure to rate and review. And if you're checking it out on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe. That really does help us to continue the show and bring in some great guests to help you on your home buying journey.